What do you do with leftover ham? Welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life, using real food, and we keep it real simple. Well, there are tons of things that I've done with leftover ham, but very few of them have been easier and more delicious than this recipe I'm going to show you today. When I say it's easy, I mean it is easy. There is hardly any prep involved and very few ingredients, okay? So you're going to love this one. I'm using the Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro. It works great. There's tons of different ways you could do this recipe just by adapting the cooking method, but this is the one I'm going to use today, and this is how I tested the recipe. So let's get right into it, okay? We're going to turn the Ninja Possible Cooker Pro on, and you want to go to Sear Saute on high and hit start. Immediately you will see some dashes going across. That is the preheat time, and we can just dump in 2 tablespoons of butter right now. And that is salted butter, but you could use unsalted. It would be no problem. You don't have to make any adjustments because the ham is already pretty salty, right? And speaking of the ham, you can use any type of ham that you have left over. This is a great recipe for those spiral sliced hams where you've got that end piece. Everybody takes all the nice spiral sliced pieces and then you're left with that end. This is a great recipe for that. You need about 1 pound of ham, which is, and this is a heaping 2 cups, okay? So 2 cups is a little shy of 1 pound, about 12 ounces or so. So I go with a full pound, but remember, this is volume and 1 pound is gonna be weight. So if you don't have a scale, don't worry about weighing it out. Just go heaping 2 cups, but the dice is important. You want it to be about 1/2 inch dice, okay? That is gonna give you the best texture with all of the other ingredients that we're gonna use, and it will give you the accurate measurement. Because if you make them in big dices, it's gonna take up more volume. You're gonna end up needing like 3 cups of the ham, okay? Same weight measurement, different volume because of the shape. So we've got our 2 tablespoons of butter, and now we've got our ham here ready to go. And then let me talk about the pasta, because you may have looked at the photo and been like, what, is that pasta? It is, it's pasta, it's orzo. And let me tell you, I've tested this recipe with the orzo and different shapes of pasta. Hands down, the orzo was the best texture, the best eating experience. It just won 100% of the way with all the different shapes of pasta. So that means that you could use rice instead and it would be delicious. But there's something about the pasta, it's a little bit bigger than rice and it's got a little bit more chew and it's perfect in this dish. So pick up some orzo when you want to make this, okay? But if you don't have it, use some rice. All right, so once the butter gets to be a little bit melted, we can go ahead and put in our orzo. This is 1 cup of orzo. And then go ahead and add in your ham. And then give it a little stir here. We're gonna toast that pasta, but just for a few minutes. Now the seasoning blend. Really easy too. I mean, you could use fresh onions, you could use minced garlic or even roasted garlic. It would be delicious. But this was a dish that, I kid you not, I needed to have something really quick for dinner, and the only thing I had in the refrigerator that was already cooked was my ham. So I thought, well, what am I gonna make? And Jeff wasn't even here, so I was just making it for me. So I put a little tiny bit of orzo, like not as much as this one. And I just wanted to put some simple dry seasonings in, salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. And let me just tell you, it was so good that I left that alone when I started to test the recipe. If you want to use fresh onions and garlic, be my guest. But what I'm using is 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of fine grind sea salt, or you could use kosher salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Started out with 1 teaspoon of pepper, but when Jeff tasted, he thought it was a little bit peppery. So I went down to 1/2. So you use your judgment on that. You could also add in other things. You could add in thyme, you could add in basil, you could add in whatever seasonings you like, but this is a really good starting point, and to me, it was my ending point because this dish is so delicious. So add those in right now. All right, we will wait for the pot to finish preheating. It's gonna say add food. We already have our food in there so we don't need to do anything. Once that happens, I'll give it another stir, and we're gonna go about 2 minutes on high sear saute. Then we will add in, there we go. Then we will add in our liquid, which is 2.5 cups of chicken broth, okay? And the vegetables. Now, you could add whatever vegetables you want. I wanted to keep it simple, so I'm using frozen vegetables. This is 12 ounces or 2 cups, and only peas and carrots, all right? Or just peas would be good too. When I tried the mixed vegetables with the corn and the green beans, I thought it threw the flavor off just a little bit. It wasn't bad, but it just wasn't as good. So I'm sticking with the peas and carrots, but you could use whatever type of frozen vegetables that you like. And they will cook in time. Even if you get larger ones, they will definitely cook. So you can choose whatever vegetables you want. You want about 2 cups of them or 12 ounces. It is already smelling so good. All right, 2 minutes. Put in your frozen vegetables and your liquid. And then we're gonna give it a nice stir and we're gonna cover it. We're just gonna let it cook for about 5 minutes. And covering it at this stage is important. Also, like, see this big block of carrot here? I'm gonna break that up a little bit or put it under the liquid. It'll break up during the next 5 minutes. All right, we'll check that in 5 minutes. At just about 7 minutes total time since the preheat finished, you should start to hear or see the liquid in the pot just start to kind of boil a little bit. That's what you want, but don't let it keep boiling with the lid on anyway. So what we're gonna do now is turn the possible cooker off. Then we're gonna immediately turn it back on and we're gonna go to bake. And we want it to be at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and the time is gonna default to 15 minutes, and that is what we want. And now, guys, take your lid off. This is extremely important, okay? We need evaporation to happen. We're on the bake function. We want this to be a pasta bake, so we need the liquid to evaporate as well as cook the rice. So we're gonna leave the lid off the entire cooking time. I'll give it a little bit of a stir, and then leave it alone and let it do its thing for the next 15 minutes. All right, and then we're gonna add in some cheese because you know that's gonna go perfectly with the ham and the orzo, and a little bit of cream, and then we will also top it with some cheese, and I'm gonna pop it in the oven so you can get that really beautiful golden brown cheese on top. You are going to love this one. All right, 15 minutes is up. It automatically switches over to keep warm. You can leave it on keep warm. That's perfectly fine. And now you can stir. And I know you were probably watching it and saying, oh, I just want to stir. If you did, it's perfectly fine. But you don't have to because it isn't going to stick. Now, if we left it going any longer, we would have had so much evaporation that it would have stuck to the bottom. So you have to be careful when you're using the bake function on the Possible Cooker Pro. You need to have enough thin liquid to prevent it from sticking to the bottom and burning, right? Now we're gonna add in 1/4 cup of heavy whipping cream. You could also use half and half or even whole milk. It just won't be quite as luxurious. Give that a stir. That's gonna cool the pot down. And that's important because we don't want the orzo or the vegetables to keep cooking, okay? Now the decisions, all right? We have 8 ounces, which is 2 cups of cheese. 8 ounces is the weight, 2 cups is the volume. This is a normal shred size, not small, not large. So 8 ounces, 2 cups. You can pick any kind of cheese that you like. The blend that I use that I really love, and I'll explain why too, is 3 ounces of sharp white cheddar, 3 ounces of Gruyere, and 2 ounces of Monterey Jack. And let me explain why. Jeff went to the store and he picked up this cheese that was a mixture of cheddar and Gruyere, and it was so delicious that I just said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna use that combination a little bit more often. And so that's what I stuck in my little trial run of this recipe, and it was so, so good. And then I add in the Monterey Jack because that's a really nice melting cheese, so you get it, it's just so perfect. All right, so right now we're gonna add in 1 cup of the shredded cheese, whatever mixture you like, and I'm reserving 1 cup because I wanna put it under the heat in the oven because I want to get some of the cheese nice and golden brown because that just makes it look beautiful and taste absolutely delicious. All right, we're already seeing it get cheesy here. Now, put your lid back on, but leave the pot just on keep warm. Just gonna let all that cheese melt into the mixture in there. And now you have some decisions to make. You could add a little bit more cheese, make it super cheesy, and serve it just as is. Or you can put this cheese on top like I'm gonna do and either bake it in the oven right in the pot, or you could transfer it to a casserole dish. If you want it to serve on the table and you want it to be, a smaller casserole dish, you can certainly do that. Give this about 2 minutes, if that, for the cheese to melt, then transfer it over to your casserole dish and then put the cheese on top. Now, one thing to note about a casserole dish is the larger it is, the more surface area it has. So you may need a little bit more cheese than we have here, which is 1 cup. This is a pretty large diameter, right? So I'm gonna be going very light on the cheese, but I wanted to show you guys how versatile this appliance is, that we can take it right from cooking in here right into the oven if we want to put the cheese on top and get it nice and brown. All right, so let's do that now. And also, another little note here, if you're gonna put it in the oven, whether it's in a casserole dish or in the pot like I'm doing, preheat your oven when you set the 15 minutes, okay? And I like to preheat at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'll turn it down to 425 once I put the pot in. All right, there we go. Now, it did take a while to even start the browning process, and that is because it's so deep. And even though I had it on the highest rack where this pot would fit in, it just wasn't getting that direct heat so deep in the pot. And I didn't want to keep going, so I only browned a little bit of it because I didn't want the rice to dry out. So what I'm gonna say at this point is, if you want a nice, cheesy brown top, transfer it into a shallow casserole dish and then pop it in your oven, or even better, pop it in your air fryer if you can fit it in there, because that's what I did last night, and oh my gosh, that worked out perfectly. All right, so now let it sit for a few minutes just to kind of let it set up, because it's really going to be hot and cheesy right now. So I'm just going to let it sit there, and then we will dish them out. When you let it sit for about 15 minutes, it comes out nice and clean in squares. It's really a beautiful presentation. Now, I'm not gonna wait that long today, so it's gonna come out a little bit different. So I'm gonna use a bowl. It's still gonna be delicious though. I didn't let it sit hardly at all, and it's still pretty good. Look at that. All right, there we go. Well, it did fall apart a little bit. Let it sit a little bit longer and it will stay intact, I promise. All right, here we go. And what I love about this is how all of the ingredients are kind of about the same size, and it just gives a great texture. And that's what I didn't like about using the other shapes of the pasta. It just felt off to me. This really worked with the orzo. Oh my goodness. This is so delicious. I can't even begin to tell you. The sweetness from the peas and the carrots, the saltiness of the ham, the cheesy creaminess, and then that perfectly cooked orzo. This is an easy, easy dinner using leftover ham.